Welcome back, you filthy exiles. So, this is going to be update number 2 for the Shield Crush Jug to give you a bit of an optic as to the damage that we're dealing at the moment. So, we're clocking in at, like, with everything up and whatnot, and I'll talk about this in a couple seconds, at about 4 million DPS. So, this is without, like, blitz charge stacking yet. There's a little investment. Don't even have a brass dome on this. We get about 121,000 effective hit pools, so we've cleared all of T16 at this stage, and now just clearing endgame bosses and whatever. I've got this set to peak at like 14 million with the current iteration of the setup. And I've got some interesting ways that I'm dealing with like crit mitigation and things like that in the absence of a brass dome. But as an overall, extremely powerful build. We'll also just set the life regeneration rate to an average rate. It gets to like 2,000 regeneration, and that's because of the cycling effect of, where is it? So, of this armor node every 4 seconds regenerate life equal to 1% of armor, which is an absolutely huge break. So, overall, like, super powerful build for League Start, and I'm going to talk you through the mechanics of the build and how all this works. Now, I'm not going to play any gameplay here, you guys can see this on stream. But yeah, anyway, this is the update 2 for the Shield Crush Jug for basically showing you how to progress it further. Okay, so with all videos, I'm going to talk about where our sources of damage come from and also how things work, and the best way to do that is in the configuration screen. So, a few things really interestingly with this build now. With the item system, the item skill tree system just breaks everything. Like, the mods that I managed to get are just absolutely nuts. If you get anything close to that on your unique items, then you know you're going to get pretty far in the way of meeting this. So, power charge generation. Now, obviously the question was how are we going to do this in the absence of using the Blue Nightmare? Well, funnily enough, you can get it built into your weapon tree, which I have here. Power charge generation. I also have onslaught generation from my weapon as well, and I also have a shitload of leech. So the Crucible skill tree fixes this problem. So we actually gain back a dual socket because of this. So Frenzy charges, this comes from our mark for death. And because we do Assassin's Mark on hit, we also apply Culling Strike because we have mark on hit. But we get 10% chance to gain Frenzy charge when you hit an enemy. So that's how that works. Endurance charge, it's a Juggernaut. It's built into the Ascendancy, which is over here. So build in unflinching. Focus, so we use focus mechanic. A lot of people have asked me like how that works. So basically you just need the craft on the gloves, for example, and it will just automatically give you focus. In this case, I got 47% increased attack and cast speed while focused on my gloves, so that's where that comes from. And that's a huge damage spike as well. So onslaught comes from my Crucible craft on my weapon. Now, my fortification, for now, until I can figure out how to get a better weapon, that's actually coming from the rampant and the fortify mastery on the skill tree. So you have fortify, and you only get 17 stacks, but that's plenty to mitigate. Now, rage, I'm running it in the skill gem setup. So in my actual shield crush setup, I have anomalous rage. The reason why I run anomalous rage is 20% quality gets me an extra 10% attack speed at max rage, with at least 20 rage. So, and you stack 50 rage on the build. Now, generally you'll be running around in maps or whatever, max rage, even on bosses and stuff like that, and you generate it as you hit, so, you know, easy enough. Leech, it's coming from the weapon, Crucible enchant, and just generally within the build. Flasks are active. Consecrated Ground, I have a Bottled Faith on this. There was like 2.2 div yesterday, so I got one. Nearby enemies, yeah, I've got 10. That's because I run Soul of Lunaris, and that gives me increased damage reduction for enemies that are around me. I'm always being hit, I play Delve. I generally leave the character in Blood Stance just because it hits harder in Blood Stance. Like, obviously, damage will decrease in Sand Stance, but AoE goes up. Nothing else ticked. Now, Brittle Ground, I actually have this coming from my boots. So, it applies when I have a unique enemy, but drops Brittle Ground when moving, lasting 5 seconds. And basically, you just run over the top of the enemy, and you drop Brittle Ground, and that gets my crit chance up to, as you can see, 100%. And it's not like a huge, it actually really doesn't do any effect to anything. If we tick this on and off, I just natively have 100%, and I'll talk about how that's working very shortly. Debilitate actually comes from my Reckoning. So I'm running Anomalous Reckoning, and I debilitate enemies for 1 second on hit when I block. And that actually gives me an extra, like, was that 18,000 damage reduction? And it pops off when I block and I'm max block. So it's always popping off. And then enemies are on consecrated ground because I have a Bottled Faith. Now, this is Guardian Pinnacle damage, so this is legit, it's not bullshit. And I'd consider 4 million overlap damage quite good on a build that's like, what, 4 days into the league? So anyone that was like, oh, this isn't a league starter, absolutely is a league starter. Works perfectly. At least I'm having fun. I'm doing like 250 depth delve right now. Anyway, that's it for mechanics, so I guess let's talk through the item setups. Okay, so, items. In my helm, literally just life regeneration rate, max life, resistances. I also got mana reservation efficiency implicit roll from, I think this was Eater of Worlds. And then also I've got damage recouped as life, cold damage recouped as life from unique enemies, but I want to change it to just flat recoup later down the track. My shield, my Emperor's Vigilance. Now, my Emperor's Vigilance is special because it's craft, 50% increase implicit modifier magnitude, and 15 energy shield is enormous on the shield. 50% increased armor evasion and energy shield on the shield, and then just 80 flat dex. Now, the reason why these two rolls in particular are significant is the synergy between Seething Fury, when I can find it. So Seething Fury gives you 0.15% offhand critical strike chance per 10 max energy shield and multiplier. 4% to crit multi as well, per 10 energy shield. So it's basically just maxed out my crit with an increase to the energy shield on my shield, which is significant in every possible way. It also synergizes with the shield nodes here, 2% increased attack damage per 75 armor. And also the other shield node that I've got applied up here, which is 1% critical strike multiplier per 10 maximum energy shield on shield. So by having more energy shield on my shield, it's actually maxed out my crit, so I hit harder, so it's perfect. On my Replica Dream Feather, obviously I've got my increased attack speed and onslaught, leech, and my power charge generation on there. I've just got rings to deal with mana regeneration rate, so have at least one ring with mana regeneration rate. Which seems silly, but I don't have any mana sustain issues with this build, even when it's clapping away at max speed. And it hits at 5.81 APS right now, so it's pretty fast. And then the other one is very similar with whatever other mods you need that you want to encompass into the build, and resistances, obviously. On my chest piece, I literally just have a no-life chest piece because right now I'm running the life node that goes 15% increased maximum life while there are no life tag modifiers on your chest armor. So I have exactly that. It's just basically any mod that I need to get my resistances up, attributes, or anything else, and then some some implicit crafts. So it's just a really shabby 6-link, nothing special. My amulet, I'm running that's a replica at Series Foible, but number one because it's cheap, and number two because it gives me a good amount of life regeneration and flat life, because life is one of the things this build sort of struggles with. And I'm running Infused Flesh, which gives me 18% damage recouped as life, and I have like 20 something or 30% of this, so when I take damage, I'm recouping life back from the damage being taken over 4 seconds. In my gloves, literally just whatever implicits you can get that are decent, and the big ticket here is increased attack and cast speed while focused. I'm running a Magnate, it's the best in slot outside of a Mage Blood, so yep, that's pretty much no-brainer. And my boots, I'm literally just running Chaos Res, Life, any other res, movement speed, and also if you can get Brittle Ground, and I actually lucked out and got Ailment Avoidance on my boots as well as an implicit. And that's basically it for boots. Now, flask, just a life flask, Bottled Faith. If you're farming Delve like what this character's built for, this should be easy enough to acquire. Quicksilver Flask, Diamond Flask, and Lion's Roar. Now you want to have increased attack speed, and you also want to have it like increased armor. I need to get a better Quicksilver Flask, but in the absence of that, when I'm in Delve, I usually switch that out for my Quartz Flask. and I get increased armor, which increases my damage because this is an armor stacker, so the increase in armor increases your damage. And you want these to have gain charges when you hit, because this character is built around getting absolutely punched in the face every 5 seconds. Anyway, let's talk about skill gem setups. Okay, so skill gem setup so far. In my helm, I've got clarity on an arrogance setup, so it reserves a little bit of life, and I've only got that at like level 14. So that's just perfectly sustaining all my mana costs because I use mana for this build. I have Defiance better, I have Determination, obviously. In my sword, I've got Assassin's Mark, Mark on Hit, Support, and Life Tap, because I don't want this costing mana. It's pretty expensive if it costs mana, and I have huge amounts of regeneration. Then in my shield, I've got Precision, Molten Shell, and I've got Cast when damage taken, and you want to max out Precision when you can, when you get like a 8% increased mana reservation. It's actually better, the mana reservation is actually better this league than what it was last league, and you can fight me over that, but I don't find it hard to balance all my auras. I'm running like, what, 6 auras here, so on a jug, so it is perfectly doable. In my chest, I'm running my Divergent Shield Crush, which gives you increased crit multi, 20% increased crit multi at 20% quality, and these were pretty cheap as well. I think it was like 70 chaos. And then Impale support, melee physical damage support, multi-strike support, Anomalous Rage, which gives you a 10% increased attack speed while at 20 rage, and then Brutality. In my gloves, I'm running Blood and Sand. I've got Tempest Shield into the build now. This gives me shock immunity, and it also gives me max spell block, and as you can see, this is at essentially max block, void of a little bit of attack block because of our shield mod, but that was a perfect compromise to make. And then we're running Anomalous Reckoning, which gives Debilitate, and we're running Divergent Life Gain on Hit, which also, with 20% quality, gives you 2 mana gains per enemy hit with support attacks, which is just a little more mana sustain if you need it. And then in my boots, Leap Slam, Ancestral War Chief, Multiple Totems, and Phantasmal Ancestral Protector. The reason why we use Phantasmal is when you put it up to 20% quality, it then gives you 20% increased totem effect, which means you can attack faster, which is going to increase your DPS. And that's basically it for the skill gem setup. Okay, so the interesting part, the tree. So what have I done? So pretty much the initial tree that I put out is exactly where it is, the endgame tree. I haven't made any real deviations aside from putting Rampant and Fortify Mastery in. We do have the Life Mastery down here, and also Armor Mastery for life regeneration and life 15% increased life. But everything else is exactly the same. The Cluster Jewels I'm currently using is simply just Fuel the Fight and Prodigious Defense, but we're going to want to get Martial Prowess eventually as well. And I've got Basics of Pain and Pressure Points, which was really cheap, which increases my crit further. Now my watch, and then basically we just move up into these nodes up here. Bob's your uncle, done. Now I did take the Armor Mastery for 100% increased armor from equipped boots and gloves, and also 30% reduced extra damage from critical strikes. And the reason being, I don't have a brass dome. However, you can get to 85% without even trying. And how I did, as far as critical damage multiplier reduction. So I've got 85% enemy crit extra damage reduction, and the way that I do that is just with a really basic Watcher's Eye. So you take 55% reduced extra damage from critical strikes when affected by determination. That fixes all the problems with not having a brass dome. Really, the only thing then brass dome does is give you max cap, overcap resistances, and then also gives you a shitload of armor, and that's basically it. Realistically, you could just run around with this setup on a crafted chest and you'll be fine. Your damage will just be a little bit lower, but you you'll only take 15% increased damage from critical strikes. So it's pretty menial to this build. Outside of that, I'm just trying to look other jewels I've got in the setup. So Seething Fury we've got in the setup, and then I've just got like increased crit multi, life, and damage taken recouped as life. Crimson Jewel just down in my third socket that's spare currently, and that's basically it for the skill tree. Now, Ascendancies, Unflinching, Unbreakable, Unstoppable, and Undeniable. The sequence goes Unflinching, then you want to get Undeniable first, Unflinching second, Unstoppable third, and then Unbreakable fourth on your Uber Lab. And then beyond that, Pantheon setups, I'm just running Soul Lunaris and Soul of Aberith, and that's to basically become burning immune when I'm in Delve, so Burning Ground does nothing to me anymore, which is really good. But that's basically it for the skill setups, and yeah, that's not much else to talk about after that. Okay, so I hope this guide helps. This is at 87 map completion now, Atlas completion. I've done both Eda and I've done Exarch at this stage. I haven't done Maven yet. Once I up the damage more, I'll do that. I will talk about, I guess, increases and or changes to the gearing. So obviously Brass Dome is a no-brainer. We want to have a Brass Dome, and I'm currently 6-linking one for myself that I managed to acquire for like 120, 130 chaos. The other thing is All's Uprising, you want a Pride roll. They're very expensive right now. So if you're playing Delve, look for Crystal King at about depth 200 to 250. It's just a gamble at this stage as to whether or not you get it. But it's better than paying 18 div when you can just farm it yourself. And this is going to increase the damage another stack higher. The next thing you're going to want to get is, what else? Blitz charges. And when I get that, I'll put it in a forward video showing you how to do that. And then beyond that, Magnate, if you can get a Corrupted Magnate, that'll increase your damage further. And then once you get your Brass Dome, you'll want to switch out your Watcher's Eye for either Pride does double damage or Increased Impale, and that's going to increase your damage even further, to the point where we just do stupid amounts of damage reduction, and you probably be around 14 to 18 mil at that stage, depending on your setup and your item mastery, your item crucible crafts and whatnot. So that's basically it for the build. Yeah, that's pretty much getting it to full endgame at this stage. So if you've got any questions, post up in the comments below. But otherwise, I hope this video helps. Don't forget to like and sub. I have been working on a second build, which I think is going to be ridiculous. And I am super excited to start it probably this weekend, because I'll have this build pretty much cleared by the weekend and done and dusted. And yeah, this build that I'm looking at has not been done before, which is really, really cool. It's one of the Val skills, and I'll let you guys guess in the comments as to what it might be, but it's one that I have been wanting to play for a very long time. Anyway, I'll see you guys later, and bye.